Imagine a young woman from Austria, drawn to art and mysticism, embarking on a journey that would lead her to a world entirely different from her own. Susanne Wenger, a talented and unconventional artist, left post-war Europe in search of deeper meaning. Little did she know, her path would bring her to the sacred Osun-Osogbo Grove in Nigeria, a place where art, spirituality, and community intertwined in a way she had only dreamed of. In Nigeria, Susanne found more than inspiration, she found a calling. Embracing the Yoruba religion and the goddess Osun, she became a Dunni Olorisha, dedicating herself to protecting and reviving the Osun Grove. Her life became a blend of artistry and spirituality, as she transformed the grove with sculptures and shrines, preserving the Yoruba heritage for future generations. Susanne's journey was no longer just about her art. It was about honoring a people, a tradition, and a divine spirit that gave life to her creations. This is the story of Susanne Wenger, an artist, a priestess, a guardian of sacred land, whose legacy lives on in the heart of Nigeria. In Graz, Austria, a serene city nestled between hills and forests, a young girl found herself enchanted by the mysteries of the world around her. Even as a child, Susanne Wenger saw the world through a different lens. While others found comfort in the known, Susanne felt drawn to the unknown. Susanne's art was different. Even as a young girl, she wasn't interested in drawing the world as it appeared, but as she felt it. For Susanne, every tree, every river, every stone held secrets waiting to be discovered. She was fascinated by the mystical, the unseen. When she was old enough, Susanne left Graz and moved to Vienna, where her hunger for artistic and spiritual knowledge could be nurtured. As an adult, art is more than beauty for Susanne. It's a doorway to other realms, a way to understand the unseen. While others sought fame and recognition, Susanne sought truth. She was fascinated by the mystical, the unknown. But Europe was changing. As Austria fell under the shadow of the Nazi regime, Susanne found herself in a world where free thought and expression were increasingly stifled. For a soul like Susanne, boundless and questioning, the world of restriction was suffocating. As the world around her became dark, Susanne turned inward, exploring spirituality and mysticism. She was searching for something she couldn't yet define. What began as an artistic curiosity was becoming a calling. She felt a pull toward the spiritual, a connection she had yet to fully understand. Little did she know, this journey would take her across continents and cultures, from Austria's familiar hills to the sacred groves of Nigeria. Susanne Wenger was ready to find her purpose, to leave behind the known world for a destiny that awaited her thousands of miles away. Vienna in the late 1930s was an intellectual and artistic hub, and Susanne Wenger was swept up in its currents. But her interests went beyond the avant-garde art scene. She was searching for something deeper. Susanne's art was gaining attention, but few understood her vision. For her, art wasn't about fame or prestige. It was a way to connect with a reality that couldn't be seen, only felt. But the world around her was changing. As the war descended on Austria, Vienna's art scene became stifled. Free expression was silenced, and Susanne felt increasingly trapped. As the walls of authoritarianism closed in, Susanne's curiosity for the mystical grew stronger. She studied everything she could find on ancient cultures, convinced that these traditions held answers she was searching for. In 1949, Susanne Wenger left the familiar mountains of Austria, driven by a longing that couldn't be fulfilled in Europe. She was bound for Nigeria, a place she had only read about, yet felt drawn to with every fiber of her being. Alongside Ali Bayer, she embarked on a journey to Nigeria, where she would soon discover her true calling. Lagos, Nigeria, a city filled with life, culture, and a rhythm all its own. For Susanne, this was no longer just a destination. It was the beginning of a journey that would shape her life in ways she could never imagine. Susanne's journey to Nigeria had brought her not only to a new land but to a world of gods, spirits, and ancient traditions. She felt a pull, an invitation she couldn't ignore. The Osun River Grove, a place of legend, beauty, and deep spiritual energy. Here, Susanne felt a connection she had never felt before, as though the goddess herself was calling her. In the sacred grove, Susanne Wenger became a Unconventional, one who brings honor to the deities. Through this initiation, she was no longer just an observer. She was part of the Yoruba spiritual tradition. Susanne's art transformed from mere expression to sacred devotion. She worked tirelessly to create sculptures that honored the spirits of the land, breathing life back into the grove. Local artists and villagers assist her, carving, painting, and blessing each piece. The grove becomes a living art gallery, filled with vibrant sculptures that blend seamlessly with nature. From an Austrian artist to a Unconventional, Susanne Wenger found her calling in a world she had once only dreamed of. She was no longer an outsider but a guardian of the sacred, a bridge between two cultures, bound by art and spirit. The Osun Grove, a sanctuary of life and spirit. For Susanne, it was more than a place, it was a calling. She felt the presence of the goddess Osun, watching over the land and its people. In preparation for the initiation, Susanne released her old self, shedding her European identity to embrace the sacred spirit of the Yoruba tradition. She was no longer Susanne. She was becoming a Unconventional, one who brings honor to the Orishas. In that moment, Susanne Wenger was reborn. She was no longer a visitor in this land. She had become part of it, bound to the goddess and the grove. Through her art, Adani honored the spirits of the land, transforming the grove into a living sanctuary for the goddess. She was not only creating art but preserving a sacred legacy. In time, Susanne became known not only as an artist but as a guardian of the grove, a bridge between worlds. She was a Unconventional, beloved by the people and blessed by the goddess herself. The Osun Grove had become Adani's world, her life's purpose. But this sanctuary, sacred and ancient, was threatened by forces that sought to destroy it. It was a battle between the tangible and the spiritual, progress and preservation. For Susanne, it was a call to defend the goddess's home, no matter the cost. But it wasn't only officials Susanne had to contend with. There were those who saw the grove as a place to exploit, a resource to take from. Adani and her allies prepared the grove as best they could, using both physical and spiritual means to protect Osun's sanctuary from those who sought to harm it. Each night, Adani and her allies guarded the grove, remaining vigilant against those who would desecrate it. It was a battle of endurance, of will, as they protected the sacred home of Osun. In times of crisis, they called upon Osun herself, seeking her guidance and strength. For Adani, this ceremony was not just protection, it was a promise to defend the grove, no matter the cost. Through faith, courage, and unity, Adani protected Osun's sacred grove. She had become not just a guardian, but a force of nature herself, forever bound to the spirit of the land. The Osun Grove was no longer just a place of worship, it had become a sanctuary of art, spirit, and history. Over the years, Adani poured her soul into each statue, each shrine, breathing life into the sacred land. A group of UNESCO officials arrives in Osogbo, welcomed by local leaders and villagers. They are escorted through the Osun Grove by Susanne and a group of priests and priestesses, each explaining the significance of the sculptures and the grove. The officials listen intently, visibly moved by the art and its connection to the people. The world had come to recognize the Osun Grove as a sacred space worth preserving. But for Adani, the true achievement was in the love and respect she had earned from the community she had come to call home. Even across continents, Susanne's legacy had touched hearts and minds. Her art, her spirit, and her devotion to Osun had become timeless, a bridge between worlds. Adani, as the people knew her, had become a part of the Osun Grove. She was a guardian, a creator, and a beloved elder. In her final days, she walked among her life's work, knowing she would soon rest in the sacred land she had given her life to protect. Adani's spirit was bound to the grove, to the people of Osogbo, and to the goddess Osun herself. And on that quiet night, she returned to the spirit world, leaving behind a legacy that would live forever. The people of Osogbo came together to honor Adani, their guardian, their artist, their priestess. She had given herself to Osun, and now they gave her back to the land she loved. She was buried by the Osun River side. In death, as in life, Adunni remained bound to the sacred land she loved. She was now part of the grove, her spirit forever intertwined with Osun and the people she served. Adunni's spirit lived on, her legacy carried forward by those she taught and inspired. The Osun Grove remained a sanctuary, protected by the generations who came to love it as she did. Susanne Wenger's life was a bridge between worlds, an Austrian artist who became an honored Yoruba priestess, a woman whose spirit belonged to the Osun Grove as much as the trees and river themselves. Known as Adunni Olorisha, she protected the sacred land with unwavering devotion, creating art that told stories of gods, spirits, and ancient traditions. Through her work, she not only preserved the grove but shared its beauty and meaning with the world. Even in death, Suzanne's presence remains. Her sculptures, teachings, and legacy live on in the generations of artists she inspired. Today, the Osun Grove stands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a testament to her life's work and the unity she found with the Yoruba people. Susanne Wenger's story is more than a tale of art and faith. It is a legacy of love, resilience, and the enduring spirit of one who found her true home in a land far from where her journey began. Her story continues in every leaf, every river flow, every piece of art that honors the spirit of Osun and the land she called home.